So, you were hanging out in Neve's cave and another bully walked past and said, "Nice cape, does it come in good?" So feeling self-conscious, you thought, hey, today's the day, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my fire cape. On screen now are the specific time codes of the topics I'll be covering. Feel free to click around if you're after a specific thing. The fight caves are found beneath this volcano in Karamja, in this Tron looking ass hallway, right across the road from this bank. The easiest way to get here is using the Desire Fight Pit minigame teleport. Though, you're all adults, you can find your own way here. Also, keep in mind that you can pause the fight caves at any time by simply logging out. When you log back in, you'll be at the start of the wave you were on. So I won't go in depth into the gear, but basically, you're going to want to try to optimize your range accuracy along with your highest prayer bonus and highest defense. This is an endurance based game. The higher the range accuracy, the faster you can progress. The higher the prayer bonus, the longer your prayer points can take you, and the more defense you have, the longer you'll survive damage. Use your best ranged weapon possible. The rune crossbow is a great cheap solution, but ideally you'll be using a blowpipe. With the rune crossbow, you can bring broad bolts as a cheap ammo type, and with the blowpipe, I'd recommend adamant darts. Make sure your blowpipe has 20% charge and at least 2k bolts, so you don't run out halfway through the fight caves. Once I ran out of darts and ended up having to kick Jad to death. Don't do that. With your necklace slot, maximize range accuracy. Glory works, Fury is better, Anguish is amazing. But if you can afford to Anguish and haven't completed your fight caves yet, then, can I have some cash? How the hell did you get that money? With the ring slot, there's not a lot of options. Archery ring is the only real ring that gives range accuracy bonus. The Lumbridge ring is a good alternative with a prayer bonus. But also, just a cheap granite ring might help a little in defense. Again, the mentality for each slot is go for range. If you can't do that, go for prayer bonus. If you can't do that, go for defense. Your cape slot will obviously be the highest tier of Ava device you can use. The higher the tier, the more money you'll save, so definitely invest in this for the sake of any range activity. In the ammo slot, you'll obviously have your bolts if using a rune crossbow, but if using a blowpipe, equip the Radar's Blessing. This is a +2 prayer bonus, and which is +1 over all the other blessings, though the other blessings are fine. For the actual gear bit, using full void will greatly increase your range accuracy, but will leave you a little bit of a squishy squish ball. So if you're confident, use Void. Other range gear is also viable and great, like your highest D-hide set, and even adding a couple of tank pieces like the Verix helm or skirt if you're dying too quickly is also viable. Next is the inventory. My inventory choices are a lot simpler than most, but you really don't need much. I usually bring 3 prayer pots, that's not right. I usually bring 3 range pots and save them for when the bigger tankier minions appear, and then bring 50/50 super restores and Saradome and brews. The less confident you are, the more damage you'll take, so bring more brews. The more confident you are, the more correctly you can use your prayer, so the more restores you bring. Just in case you are unaware of the effect of Saradome and brews, because I know I wasn't when I first did my fight caves, they work like this. They raise your hit points and defense a variable amount based on your level and can go above your max hit points, though in the process lowers your attack, strength, range, and magic. After 3 sips, you're going to want to have a Super Restore Potion. The Super Restore Potion is mainly there to maintain prayer points, so try not to sip one if you have more prayer points than it's going to restore. Side note, make sure to have all your potions in 4 doses, not 3. First time I did the caves, I didn't know that 4 doses things exist, and I ran out of potions pretty quick. That'll affect maybe one person watching this, so to that person, you're welcome. Also, make sure to turn Auto Retaliate off. This means you won't get dragged around the map and ruin some safe spots you've set up. So, before we actually go in depth with each wave, we'll get you familiarized with the enemies. You don't actually need to memorize which enemy is coming up next, or the wave order in which they will spawn, you just need to learn the mechanism and how they spawn. So think of that phone game 2048. It was popular back in the day, you may not have ever heard of it, but when you combine 2 2s you get a 4, and then when you combine 2 4s you get an 8, and etc. up to 2048. Well, the monsters here behave in a fairly similar manner. Each round another enemy will spawn. If you have 2 of the level 2s in the previous wave, a level 45 will spawn. If you have 2 of the level 180s in the previous wave, a level 360 will spawn, and so on and so forth. Each enemy is also unique in their own ways. The first enemy you'll encounter is this little level 22 bird. These will be your highest priority to kill in each round, as they only have 10 hit points, so can die in a single shot, but for every attack they land on you, they drain a prayer point. I recommend having your XP drops on by selecting this button, and when you see a 40 range XP drop, you know you've hit a 10 and successfully killed them and can move on. This is just a faster tactile response compared to the hit splats. Next, when you combine the 2 level 22s, you get a level 45 blob thing, which attacks via melee, and when killed produces 2 smaller blob things. The level 45 has a max hit of 7, and the level 22s have a max hit of 4. Both are relatively easy, no praying is needed, and there is not much to worry about. Next to arrive is the level 90 Ranger. This one can deal a fairly consistent amount of damage, with a max hit of 13, so praying range is advised. The next minion to arrive is a level 180 Melee, quite large and easily safe spottable. Not too much to worry about here, but can hit up to 25, so if you're passing this minion, make sure to pray melee for the second that you pass. It also has a side ability which doesn't really matter, but it can heal other minions. I'm mainly telling you this so you don't get confused when it woolawoos, but just ignore it. After the melee, we have our first really hard hitting, should definitely worry about this minion, the level 36 Major. Having a max hit of 54, it is advisable to constantly pray magic when there's minions on the field. This minion comes in on wave 31, which you will know because you've been paying attention to the 2 melee spawns beforehand. And after that point in the game, never stop praying mage unless you're 100% certain it's not alive. Make sure not to stand within melee range of this minion, as they will punch you, and they will punch you hard. But then we have the last minion of all, the mother of all big bad beasts, Jad. The folly to the unacquainted, the free low blood pressure treatment, the greatest achievement to every new player. I'll go more in depth with this dickhead later. So the cave layout. The main point here is knowing where the Italy rock is, and it's here. Each wave, you'll be starting on this tile, at the northeast of the Italy rock. This tile means all bigger minions will be safe spotted if they spawn in the more common areas. It's not necessary for the early rounds to stand in the safe spot, but if you're new to this and not confident, just stick here and you'll be okay. Another point to note is that you may have to run to this spot in the map to drag minions closer so that you can keep the others safe spotted on the far side. This might sound confusing now, but it will all make sense as we go through the waves. So, wave by wave. The first wave, you'll just have the little prayer bird. Then the next wave 2, then the next wave 1 level 45, then a level 45 and a prayer bird, etc, etc. You've learned the spawning pattern so you can predict what's coming up. On wave 7, the first somewhat of a threat spawns, the level 90 Ranger. So once that spawns, pray range. You can't hit too high with a max hit of 13, so don't stress too much. On wave 14, you'll have 2 Rangers, which means on wave 15, you'll have your first melee. Here we get to practice our safe spotting ability. Start in the Italy rock starting position, and then ideally the melee will spawn on the southern side of the rock, immediately being in the safe spot. Though, there is a potential that the melee may spawn around on the same side as you. If this happens, wait for the melee to come close, past the tip of the rock, and then as you're running past, pray melee and run to this little divot here. This divot in the rock will mean the minions on either side of the rock will be safe spotted. Now you can just sit stress free, pick off the big guy. On wave 22, you know what's coming because you've been watching the spawning of the minions. We've got another Ranger, so pray range when you see him. If you're certain that the Ranger is dead, you can turn off pray for range. The mistakes here won't be too drastic, so it's okay to take a few hits. It's more important to save your prayer points in these early waves. On wave 30, we get 2 melee, so start on our Italy rock, then run to our divot. By this point, you've done this every round so far, so you got the gist. At wave 31, pray mage, and never stop for the rest of the caves. Granted, this advice isn't always true. Like, if you've clearly safe spotted the big dickhead or killed it, you can stop. But if you're new to this, just never stop praying mage is a fair and safe bet. I also recommend to start using your range pots when you see the mages. They're big, they're tanky, and they have a lot of health. At wave 37, things start to get a little scary. Up until this point, you shouldn't have had any problems. But now you will start to take unavoidable damage. So start in your Italy rock starting spot, pray mage and wait. If the Ranger appears on the south side of the rock, you're in luck. Feel free to run to this corner and then run back to the rock to drag the Major into position, where the Ranger remains safe spotted. Then kill the Major, pray range and kill the Ranger. However, you may not get lucky and be forced to kill the Ranger while praying mage and have to tank a few hits. The main skill to take away here is the ability to drag minions into their safe spot and closer to you, by using this spot here. By wave 45, you've reached the point where the caves have become a challenge. Pray mage and focus on the 2 Rangers. Make sure to brew up and be on full health at the start of this wave, because these ones are going to hurt. On wave 53, we've got a melee, Ranger, and a Major. Safe spot the melee, pray mage, kill the range. You've got the gist by now. Start in your Italy spot, drag the minions if need be, you can do it. Now you've reached the hardest wave yet, wave 60. This is where you'll take most of the damage. Pray mage, kill the 2 Rangers and safe spot the 2 melees. All the waves are essentially the same. Start in the Italy rock spot and try to keep everything away from yourself. Right now it may seem intimidating and confusing, but don't worry, after a few attempts this will all make sense. It only took me around 3 attempts of never doing any PVM to get my head around it. So you should be okay. With this technique, everything's fairly simple. But now that you've done it, you get 2 breather waves, with wave 62 being by far the easiest wave with 2 majors. Just pray, no need to safe spot, pot up and get ready for the big guy. Make sure to pay attention when yellow major spawns. This is the position at which Jad will spawn. You can also look for the second discolored minion for all of them to figure out where they spawn, but it's only really important at the Jad spawn. So breathe in, breathe out, you can do this, you're ready. You're going to want to pray range at the start. Jad has a max hit of 97 with his range attack being able to hit that and also being more accurate, so range is the appropriate one to start on. In this fight, Jad has 2 attacks. He has a mage attack and a range attack. You're going to need to want a prayer flick between these 2 protection pairs. If you fuck up a prayer flick, there's a high chance you are dead. This also means if you fuck up a prayer flick and don't die, don't worry about your health, your main focus should be keeping up with the flicks. I recommend only taking 1 sip of your potions in between flicks. Just remember, you don't need to be on full health. Now a lot of people say listen to the Jad sounds to know which prayer to flick to, but like, I don't know about you, but I don't really know the difference between a whoosh and a wish, so I like to look at the animations. Here there are 2 animations to watch for. We have the dangly legs for mage and the stompy legs for range. Dangly for mage, stompy for range. You also have plenty time to react, about 3 seconds, so don't stress and try to go quickly. Just be methodical and patient. Dangly mage, stompy range. Once you get Jad down to half health, healers will spawn, and this is where a lot of people freak out and mess up their flicks. Remember, your flicks are the most important part. Health and healers come second. But what you're going to want to do is shoot each healer once so they run and attack you. And then you're going to want to stand them in a line so only one is attacking you. The healers still heal whenever they attack something, so you need to make sure only one is attacking you. Also, this is better for keeping your health up as they will deal a fairly consistent below amount of damage. But now, if all has gone well, you did it. Well done. Congratulations, you're a real RuneScape player now. With the rune crossbow, you can bring bolt. Whoa, hey! With the rune crossbow, fuck me. With the rune crossbow, you can bring broad bolts. This is a fucking tongue twister. With the rune crossbow, you can bring broad. With the rune crossbow, I keep calling it a crossbow. With the rune crossbow, you can bring broad. With the rune crossbow, fuck!